Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Hi everybody, Ezra Levant here. How you doing? I'm delighted to be back in the chair as I am 3 times a week. What we do on this daily live stream at 12 noon is we go over the news of the day in an informal way, a little less produced and prepared than, for example, my nightly show. I show you some of the best of The Rebel from our other talent. And we take your comments. I'm sorry I'm yawning. I was up so late last night. I want to say hi to our viewers on Odyssey, which is a fun video app. We've got some folks there. One of the most promising new video platforms in Canada is called superu.net. It's the free speech channel, so I'm delighted to be on there, and hello to everyone there. In fact, I spoke to SuperU yesterday, and I'm told that they may have a tipping function, like a super chat. They might even be trying it out as soon as this month. So that would be fun, because one of the reasons one of the ways YouTube is giving us a hard time is by demonetizing us. And of course, our friends at Rumble, it's a delight to be with them. 726 people watching there. We'll never give up on YouTube, even though we think that their corporate policies are censorious and woke and cancel culture-ish. We won't give up on them because even though they've completely demonetized us and throttled us and things like that, they still have nearly 1.5 million subscribers of ours. So that's the way we contact those folks. So to those on YouTube, I say hello. We've just been nailing it lately, and by we, I mean our reporters. There's so many interesting things going on across Canada, and Avi Amini's done a great job down under. He's really focused on police brutality, I'll use that word. Sometimes it's not physically brutal, it's just psychologically or manipulative. For example, when they went to Avi's house after nightfall to basically threaten him and his family, saying, "Don't you come to cover a protest tomorrow." Well, Avi didn't take that protest lying down, but it was quite shocking to see police cars show up to your private residence, scare your family late at night. They've got guns on them to say, "Don't come to the protest to report on it tomorrow." Well, I mean, that's incredible. There was an incredible video I showed you, I think I showed it on Monday, of a dad and his son in a car and police trying to pull the dad out of the car because they were illegally having a bite to eat in the car. And the dad resisted, and the police physically weren't strong enough to get the guy out of the car. It was just bizarre. So Avi's been really showing the dark underbelly of Australian policing, as we've been doing here in Canada too. But I want to show you a new video from Avi. It's a little bit of a different side, because like me, Avi's naturally pro-law and order, and that means pro-police. And I think until a year and a half ago, we both would have answered that way. Although I was starting to have my worries about politically correct policing in the UK and even here in Canada. So Avi encountered this group of cops yesterday who were, I'm sorry I'm yawning, not from a very politicized downtown police department. They were, I think, from some suburb or something, and they were in Melbourne for the day, and Avi caught up with them, and they seemed really relaxed. And I liked it. It was sort of 5 minutes of banter where you hear these cops saying, "We don't really like what we're being asked to do. You know, we're told to do it. What would you do? Put yourself in our shoes. Yeah, we'd rather be fighting crime." I thought it was touching. I thought, first of all, it showed the best of Avi, that he's got a good heart. Like, he can be like a cactus sometimes. He can be prickly on the outside, but he's a soft heart on the inside. And actually, I don't even think he's that prickly. He's just, like, he's always got a sense of humor to him. But here you can see his gentle side as he's talking to cops and having them really say in their own words that they're not exactly pleased with the politicization of the police over the last year and a half. Take a look at this video from Down Under.
You look bored. You look bored. I said you look bored. Nothing happening? I think.
Did you walk up here or?
From where? From the corner? Yeah. I tried to get a ride with some of your boys. They wouldn't take me. I don't know.
You should have jumped in our bus, mate. We would have taken you.
You're all right. I like him.
Not many say that, though.
I was expecting a bit of a different thing today. Last night, some of your boys came to visit me at home.
Nah.
Did you hear about that?
No, we're from the country,
We
mate.
don't, yeah.
Oh, you're from the country?
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys are all right. You're regional.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
We're from Geelong.
Geelong. Oh, country.
Yeah. Funny though, isn't it? It's country metro.
It's country metro. Wow, they brought you all the way from Geelong. There's no crime happening in Geelong at the moment,
No,
is
not
there?
today. No, it's really quiet. 'Cause everyone promised they'd be good.
Geelong's got... Is it weird having to, like, do this instead of fighting actual crime in Geelong?
It's different.
Like, Geelong is, let's not lie, it's got its crime problems. It's got its crime problems.
It's up there, yeah.
I mean, like statistically speaking, it's probably a lovely place. I imagine it is, but statistically, there are probably bigger problems than people coming out without masks in.
Oh, we just get.
I feel for you.
We don't make the rules.
You don't make the rules, I know, but I know. I feel for you. I know. I've seen it. I've actually seen a divide in Victoria Police, even the non-country. The country, you guys are all good. It's a city boys is a divide. Half of them are on a power trip. The other half are like, shit, I don't want to be here.
So who visited you last night, sorry?
I got a letter from Luke, what's his name? I can never pronounce. Saying that you're not meant to come and do my job.
Just go on to
Rebel News. It's a
YouTube or like,
well everywhere. It's Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian news.
Yeah, it's a Canadian site.
Geez,
So
that's a long way to come from Canada here to report on this.
you know what? The whole world is interested in what is happening in Melbourne at the moment. We've done a year and a half of some of the toughest restrictions in the world, and some of the craziest enforcement. Like, it's a shame because I think it's actually, like, you'd feel it, the divide between the people and the police. People, I think a year and a half ago, I was campaigning for Back the Blue. And I can't believe today I'm standing here going, half the time, I don't know, it's like case by case basis. It's whether the blue are behaving or not. But like you said, you get orders. But it's what you do. You get discretion as well. You've got discretion.
Do you go to the supermarket and yell at the checkout chick because of the price?
I don't. No way.
I do. Milk's
Yeah, you do. But you're from Geelong. She's probably a criminal.
Yeah, exactly.
No, like, I don't do that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't do that, and I've witnessed, you know, some really over-the-top enforcement over people that don't deserve it. And that's what's created that distrust. Like the fact that they come to my house and they, you know, like right now I'm in the Supreme Court with over...
You're actually in the park.
In the park, yeah. Oh, he's quick. He's going to take my job. Those the other boys who...
Really? Let's swap.
Nah, a year and a half ago I would have gone, yep.
Yeah.
It's tough for everyone.
It is. But I reckon,
Family that have been affected too, like,
yeah, 100%. Listen, I got mates from when I was kids that are cops.
yeah.
But they tell me quietly, they go, listen, I use their families own restaurants, and then they go to me, listen, I use my discretion. I've never issued anything to do with COVID because personally, I'm like, that's not what I signed up for. But there are some, you cannot deny, maybe not in Geelong, some in the city that seem to be enjoying. Yeah, you haven't been, how long have you been in Melbourne? Like, just today? You should come hang out with me. I'll show you around. Some of them are enjoying it, and that's the sad bit because I never thought I'd see that.
Yeah, look, I can't say I have.
Cornelius is definitely enjoying it. That and a couple of extra donuts. Don't laugh today, you'll get in trouble. He's laughing under the mask. See you later, guys. Stay safe and stay cool. What we've learnt is there's certainly good cops and bad cops, and I've seen that on the front line throughout this lockdown. There have been some great cops that have been really nice and really cooperative, and then there have been those that are on a power trip. It seems that those from the country are certainly not excited about enforcing COVID restrictions and want to fight actual crime. But last night, 3 cops came to my house to issue me a letter directly from the Commissioner. Now, you can argue that they were ordered to do that. Is that a good enough excuse? I don't know. There is a problem with command, yes. But there is also a problem within the police force where some seem to be enjoying the powers they've been given under the state of emergency for their own personal power trip. Avi Yamini in Melbourne, Australia, for Rebel News, never ever backing down from telling the other side of the story.
Well, that's great. I thought that was nice. And I think there's probably something to it when those cops said we're from the country. I think country police, in some cases, get to know their constituents, their citizens, more than big city police. I mean, it used to be that The beat cop knew everyone on his beat, knew everyone on the block, would walk around and be part of the street, and would have that knowledge and that respect. I don't know if that happens a lot in big cities now. I think cops really don't get out of their cars. I could be wrong. There might be examples to contradict that. But if you're every day engaging with people, hopefully you earn their trust and respect, but hopefully they earn yours too. And you're less likely to engage in abusive policing, less likely to throw mums and dads in the back of a police van, separating them from their children because they were doing some trifle like not wearing a mask or eating in their car. So I think that community-based policing, or community knowledge, community trust, transparency, getting out into your towns, I think that's probably stronger in some of the rural parts than in the city, and less political. I don't know. I don't know what you thought of that. Maybe you don't like the lovey-dovey side of Avi. Maybe you like when he's battling like hell. But I'm glad to know that there's two sides to our friend Avi, and he doesn't just fight. He's a fighter and a lover. So anyways, I thought that was interesting because he's been on a real tear down under. My eyes, like so many other people's, are riveted by Florida. I think that Florida is the best state in the union now when it comes to government and freedom. I think Texas is probably in second place, but I think so much of what Texas is doing is following Florida. Now, of course, what a governor does focuses on his state, just like a Canadian premier focuses on a province. There are certain matters that just aren't of interest to a premier. And same thing with a governor. Foreign policy. But take a look at this from Ron DeSantis.
I think if you look right now, there is no single entity that exercises a more pervasive, nefarious influence across a wide range of American industries and institutions than the Communist Party of China. Academia in the United States is permeated with influence, and I'll go through some of the people. You have researchers getting indicted. This is very common to see researchers at major institutions, including in Florida and also around the country, getting indicted for being in cahoots with the Chinese government. You look at corporate media and the entertainment industry in this country, they are in the pocket of the Communist Party of China. I mean, if the Hollywood comes up with a movie that the CCP doesn't like, that gets censored. They are not going to run afoul of that orthodoxy. You look at corporate media in this country, they were on the vanguard of trying to suppress the truth about the lab leak theory. They've got deep financial ties to the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party, and we just have to call it for what it is. Big tech also runs interference for the Communist Party of China. People were trying to search for the Tank Man in Tiananmen Square on Bing recently, and it had no results came up. That's very curious. Microsoft said, oh, it was just an oversight, it was a mistake or whatever. Really, that's a pretty convenient mistake to have. But you see time and time again, the big tech giants, it seems like when they put their thumb on the scale, they're almost always putting their thumb on the scale in favor of protecting the Communist Party of China. And of course, in the United States,
I really like Ron DeSantis, and it is true that there are some provincial, state level, and in Canada, provincial level matters involving the Communist Party in China. But it's also clear to me that he's trying to pave the way for a national conversation. He's trying to build up his foreign policy credentials, even as governor, and I don't mind one bit. What a pleasant change from the other side. Now, I want to show you a video that David Menzies did. Justin, I just sent it to you on WhatsApp. This is a little bit of a long video, but I want you to see it. It's a little hippie, but it's very touching. It's a Fight the Fines case. Take a look.
He's rubbing down my body and he's touching me more and more inappropriately. And this just keeps happening, and eventually he starts masturbating.
Why didn't you call the police when this young lady was allegedly sexually assaulted?
Okay, that wasn't the clip I had in mind. I sent you, I thought I sent you another clip of him with the salon lady. Oh, you did play. Oh, sorry, you did it. Sorry, because I would not have described the video you were showing. Sorry, Justin. I didn't know you played yesterday's video yesterday, because that one was touching. I would not call the video we're showing here touching or hippie in any ways. It's actually horrific. But I do believe we should. Have we shown this one? Okay, I want to show this. Sorry, let me give it a proper intro. This is not touching. This is enraging and infuriating. Take a look.
And this just keeps happening, and eventually he starts masturbating.
Why didn't you call the police when this young lady was allegedly sexually assaulted?
That's her business, sir. I have nothing to do with it.
Her business. I mean, it happened here in a supposedly secure hotel, sir.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. Well, folks, we've been... you were ordered to go to this quarantine hotel. It's a Best Western here, right next door to the airport. And what happened?
Well, I checked in. There was an employee or someone who posed as an employee. There's no security. I thought he worked here, and I was assaulted sexually by him.
Can you, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, what made you think that this person was an employee of the Best Western?
Well, they said at the desk that they would show me like the parking garage where I could smoke, that there was coffee around the corner at the first floor. So I was going to go get the coffee, and there's this man yelling at me from the elevator like, come on, come with me, I'll show you your room, it's okay, there's coffee upstairs in your room and you can get some there.
Yeah, so I mean, that would seem to indicate he's with the hotel. Did he have a uniform on, a name tag, anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
But still, a random individual telling you that he's going to show you around, I could see why you'd make that assumption. And so you engage in a discussion with him, and eventually you go to here, the underground parking garage?
Yeah, it was on the second floor. So there's an exit from the floor where I was staying, and it goes straight to the parking garage.
Okay, then. And Sarah, what exactly happened while you were at the parking garage?
So this man, he came to bring some things for me, make me more comfortable. And he says, come here, I'll give you a massage. And I say, no, it's okay. I'm tired, I just want to sit here. And he just keeps asking and asking. So eventually I accept, and I go over, and he starts rubbing my shoulders, and he's rubbing down my body, and he's touching me more and more inappropriately. And this just keeps happening. And eventually he starts masturbating.
Oh my God, so he is pleasuring himself right in front of you. What is your reaction at this point? Because I think you're probably still assuming he's somehow connected with the hotel.
Yes, yeah, I didn't know what to think, I didn't know what to do. It was just totally unacceptable.
It is unacceptable because I thought, the very definition of quarantine, it's shut down, it's secure, you're preventing interaction with others and whatnot. And this was maybe some random guy off the street approaching young ladies like yourself, posing as a hotel employee. How did this even happen in the first place?
I don't know. No one's there's supposed to be secure entry and exit, and there was nothing. It's not controlled at all.
So once he exposed himself, I guess you made a beeline away from the parking garage, and I can't blame you for that. Did you go to the staff at the hotel?
It was 11:30 at night. I was very tired. I went to sleep. I called them in the morning, and they say, we don't know who this man is. He doesn't work here.
And I guess the obvious question is, how did he get in here?
She just walked in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, we talked off camera. Do you have a suspicion that this might be the friend of somebody that actually does work here?
Well, I think he knew enough about the hotel that either he knows someone here or he was allowed to loiter around gathering information.
Yeah, and that strikes me weird in the best of circumstances. But again, this is a quarantine hotel. When we tried to do a delivery of a care package to someone staying at the Hilton not far from here, it was completely locked down. Unless somebody at the desk was going to let us in, we were not getting in. Same with the Radisson and so forth. So why, if this is a quarantine hotel, why is there such a nonchalant attitude in terms of who's getting in and who's getting out?
I don't know. I have nothing to say.
Yeah, that's shameful. Do you think the employees, Sarah, at the front desk, do you think they took your story seriously? Did they express any kind of concern for your well-being?
Well, of course they expressed concern, but like they were very confused. Like I wasn't allowed to talk to the manager. There was some discussion with him that I was not privy to.
Wait, you were not allowed to talk to the manager?
No. So she's like, I called the front desk and she said that the manager will be calling me back, and I never got a call back from the manager. I got a call back from her, and she's just like, yeah, we don't know this person. Like there's confusion, and then I called the police.
And before we get into your interaction with the police, there is surveillance footage here, right? So did they indicate that they were going to, I don't know, preserve the surveillance footage for a police investigation, anything like that?
They just said that they would look at it.
Okay, then. All right. So a few days ago, you went to the Toronto Police Service. You told them your story. What was the end result of that?
Well, they say that they're investigating this individual and that they're waiting for the camera footage, and just be patient.
I can tell you, we reached out to Best Western Corporate in the United States, the Media Relations Department, haven't heard back. Also reached out to Public Health Agency Canada, have not heard anything. So I think, we endeavored to get both sides of the story, of course. I think we should go in there and ask these people exactly what happened to you. Shall we take a stroll in? Oh, that's where you first encountered them then, right?
Yes.
Okay, then. And we could actually just walk to the elevators right now. There's no security. And, let's see what the folks at the front desk have to say. Hi there. Hi, ma'am. I'm David Menzies with Rebel News. And I'm with...
Okay, you guys are not wearing masks. I cannot have anybody here without a mask. I gotta call my general manager for this. If you can,
oh, okay.
Wait for it outside
until
I get my general manager.
Is the general manager here today?
He's here, but I cannot have you in the lobby without a mask, as per public health.
Okay, well, you're wearing a mask. You got a shield here. This young lady claims that she was sexually assaulted as a guest here. I think that's more important than wearing a mask.
I agree with you.
Okay.
That's a really important issue, but as per public health, everybody is supposed to wear a mask. And I kindly ask you to please wait in that corner until I call my general manager.
Okay, you want us to wait over there then?
Yes.
Okay, then. All right, thank you. All right, so... They seem much more concerned about wearing masks than they are about the personal well-being of their guests. So that's kind of weird. But we'll wait over here, as she said, for the general manager. Oh, you want us outside now? Okay. If I put on a mask, can I wait in here? Right, but if I put on a mask, can I wait here?
All right, it's an 18-minute video. I won't play the whole thing for you, but I have to tell you, and I'll be very, very candid with you, that there's a lot of strange things about this story. And Justin, did I hear right that she was in the parking garage at 11:30 at night, and a guy said, "Give me a massage," and she consented to that? Did I hear that right? I think that's what it was. That's a little unusual. I'm not saying that justifies what happened next. I'm just saying that it's a strange thing. And I feel that I should remark on it. That said, if she was sexually assaulted, she was sexually assaulted. But as David's reaching out to the police and seeing what's up. But I think the larger point, and I'm not diminishing what happened. I don't know what happened, but if I heard correctly, getting a massage in a garage at 11:30 at night is unusual. It's an unusual thing to accept, whether it is a real hotel staffer or not. Some fancy hotels have a spa in them, and they have a masseuse, and they charge for that. It's not just some, guy giving you a massage at night in the garage. But why is she there in the first place? Because of the most ridiculous rule you'll ever hear, that when you come back to Canada, if you drive, you can go home. But if you fly, you have to stay for 3 days at an airport hotel. What? What's the distinction? There's another rule that if you fly and you land and you tell the health bureaucrats, I think I've got the Rona, they'll send you straight home. But if you say, no, I'm fine, then they'll send you to the quarantine hotel. What? So you come in by car, no matter what, you get to go home. You come in by plane, and you're sick, or you say you're sick, or you have symptoms that you're sick, and you can go home. But if you're healthy, you go to a quarantine hotel? How does that make any sense? And at such exorbitant rates, like up to $1,000 a night to stay in crappy hotels. Now, this case here sounded pretty gross, but there have been cases, including a case in Montreal where I think one of our Fight the Fines lawyers is actually helping the victim, where someone was in her room and was barged into in her room and sexually assaulted in her room, which is a very grave offense if that's what happened. And I believe we're helping that young lady. The whole thing is madness. It's a mad world. And you know, Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland, they're so important that they have to travel now to some meetings that they can't do over Zoom. By the way, I think they are important people, and they should go to important meetings. But we're important too, and they say we're all in this together. I don't think that Justin Trudeau or Chrystia Freeland or other political important people are staying at the Best Western and wandering around and getting offers of, you know, back rubs or whatever. I just think that this whole thing is lockdownism at its worst. Pointless, expensive, favors to, you know, people making gazillions in profiteering, and of course the lockdown class being exempted from it. So anyways, it's a very curious story, and I'm glad that David Menzies is covering it, but it is unusual for the reasons I said. Let me just take a few comments on Super U. Subu says, I love DeSantis too. Got a place in Florida, and last year the beach lockdown lasted about 12 hours. Yeah, why would you lock down a beach? Super U, Agatha, wondering how many in Alberta are still going to support Jason Kenney. Well, I saw a poll that put his support, I think it was Angus Reid, maybe it wasn't. I can't recall the pollster, but it showed support for every premier in the country. Jason Kenney has the lowest support of any premier in the country at 31%. That doesn't bode well. I saw a poll. Can you find Dave Cournoyer's Twitter feed? I'm not quite sure how to spell it. I think it's Dave, C-O-U-R-N. I'm sorry, I forget how to spell Cournoyer. But I think he had a poll he posted today. I think it was him. Let's take a quick look here. Yeah, so there you go. It's an Angus Reid poll. Jason Kenney in last place at 31, Brian Pallister and Doug Ford. I find it curious that the three conservative premiers are so low in the polls. And, well, actually, I mean, I suppose Scott Moe is conservative and he's high in the polls. Maybe there's not too much that can be interpreted from this. But here's the theory I have. Maybe I'm wrong. If you're a lockdownist and a conservative, you're going to lose your base, plus the left isn't going to like you anyways. At least if you're like John Horgan, the Premier of BC, you know, your New Democrat left-wing base is going to like you no matter what. And actually, he's had a fairly light touch on the lockdowns. But if you're a harsh locker-downer, like I think what distinguishes those three premiers on the right is that they're actually the harshest lockdowners. Well, even that, Nova Scotia's pretty bizarre in their lockdown. Okay, maybe my theory doesn't work. I was going to say if you attack conservative principles through a lockdown, don't be surprised if your support is low because you're alienating your natural base, as well as the fact that you'll never get the left to vote for you anyways. I don't know if that theory works because there are some outliers to that. I saw a provincial poll just of Alberta that ranked the parties. The New Democrats were in first. The United Conservative Party was in second. Then there was a sort of an Alberta Independence Party in third. The Liberals were at 1% in Alberta provincially, 1%. Elvis would be at 1% in the polls. Aliens would be at 1%. 1% of people think Sasquatch's real. Hyperchat 5. Hyperchat gives 5 libraries on Odyssey. It's Rebecca Henderson. She says, can we adopt Ron DeSantis as our Prime Minister? Ford and Trudeau are tyrants and are a disgrace to my ancestors who fought for our democracy and freedom. You're so right about that, but here's the thing about Ron DeSantis. He's quintessentially an American leader in so many ways. And I don't know if he would be able to operate in Canada. I don't know if his caucus would give him support. I know the media would be universally opposed to him. The courts would shut him down. I don't know if I don't know if a man of that character and strength could even survive in Canada. And I would put it to you that although we need someone like him up here, it's actually more important for the world that he becomes the President of the United States. That will actually give us more freedom than almost any other outcome. Because Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Anthony Fauci, and all their other terrible ideas in the White House, I think those are affecting Canada much more than we even contemplate. 5 Libraries from Four Sinker has a flaming fire symbol. Thank you. On Rumble, K.L. Martinson says Rachel Notley's going to win the next Alberta election. That could be. Now, the next Alberta election doesn't have to be for another 2 years, because the election, if I recall, was in the middle of 2019. So we're in the middle of 2021. Jason Kenney's got to hope that in the next 2 years, people forget about just how atrocious he was in this lockdown. Here's the thing. I think that could happen if he basically gets out of the lockdown, Calgary Stampede coming, just throws away the lockdown this summer. And I think he's going to try and do that. But I don't know if you caught my conversation last night with Manny Montenegrino. My fear is that governments are going to loosen their grip this summer, because they have to. Because you're going to have millions of young people who want to go out at night, want to go out in the lovely weather. The sun doesn't set till later in the Northern Hemisphere, so it's not dark till 8:39, in some places 10 p.m. You know, in mid-June, in some of the northern cities like Edmonton, sun is not going to set till 10. Imagine having a lockdown like they had in Quebec till 8 p.m. Imagine locking adults down when it's still sunny out. And what do people like to do in the summer when they're out and about? Go for a coffee, go for a beer, go out for ice cream, wander around. But you can't do that if everything's locked down tighter than a drum. So I think that the government realizes that they've got to loosen up for a bit, because they just won't be able to enforce it. But as the summer comes to a close, and the days start to shorten, and it gets a little cooler, and then work starts up again and school starts up again, I believe September, October, as it gets cooler, you're going to have more panicking, and you're going to have the teachers' union saying, well, we don't want to teach anymore, and you're going to have all the lockdownists, and you're going to have all the pharmaceutical companies coming up with new doses that they need to give you for, hey, do you have the Bolivian variant dose? Hey, do you have the Cambodian variant dose? We got 200 doses for 200 cuts. Do you have the dose for Kiribati? You know, that little country, eh? You know, I should tell you that Justin and I used to while away the hours by playing one of those online games of, can you name all the countries? Kiribati, that's one of them. It's a little island in the Vanuatu, yeah, and Tuvalu, that's .tv on the internet. So Justin and I, at one point at least, could name all the countries in the world. That's how we pass the time here. We're wild and crazy guys. We're just a couple of wild and crazy guys. You want to hang out with us on a Saturday night? Maybe we'll have some O'Doul's alcohol-free beer, and we'll have some celery and some warm water, and we'll just be playing Who Can Name All the Countries. Yeah, and maybe there'll be some video of a sports match in the sports theater going on in the background. Just a couple of wild and crazy guys passing the night. Yeah, that's how we roll around here. You know, I want to talk a little bit about the industry I'm in, which is the media. Did you get that picture? Did you get the picture? I emailed it to you. So, you know where our money comes from here? Pays my bills, pays Justin, pays the rent here, pays our staff. We got about 30 people here now. It comes from you, if you didn't know. Now, 400 grand a year used to come from YouTube till they demonetized us. So now we really, really rely on crowdfunding. Like, it's by far our largest source of income. I think advertising is 1% of our income. So we rely on you, our viewers. And that's a great way to be, because first of all, it diffuses the power. If I had like one corporate boss, like Bell Canada, or like I actually did when I worked at Sun News, I had one corporate boss, Pierre-Carl Pelledeau, the boss at Quebecor. So that's really good if they forget about you and don't pay attention to you, and you just know, okay, well, don't criticize these things that the boss really likes. And in the case of Pierre-Carl Pelledeau, so I never talked about the hockey franchise that they wanted in Quebec. I never talked about the arena, and I never talked about Brian Mulroney, who was the chairman of Quebecor. And really, other than those no-go zones, I could talk about anything. Well, and you know what? How often do I talk about hockey arenas in Quebec? Like, that's just not something I'm interested in. And I don't have a lot to say about Brian Mulroney. I mean, he hasn't been prime minister for about 30 years, anyways. 30 years, yeah, even longer than that. So, well, let's see, he was prime minister to about 30 years. So, no, 1993, right? So that's 8 plus 21. Yeah, 30 years. So if you have a light touch corporate boss who doesn't really pay attention to you because you're in a different province and a different language, that's a pretty great way to be. That's how it was at Sun News. I don't think media's like that anymore. I think I look around Canada, and you got basically 3 TV stations. You got the government TV station, which is bigger than all the others combined. It's the CBC. I'm talking about news business. Obviously Netflix and what real people want to watch are bigger. But in the news side of the business, you got CBC, which is larger than all other media combined. It's owned by the government. They really carry the party line. You got CTV and you got Global, and they're highly regulated. They have large cable or cell phone assets that are highly regulated, so they don't step out of line. They also dominate radio. And then on the newspaper side, they're all taking the government handouts. So literally 99% of the media, the news media in Canada, are either owned by the government, extremely regulated by the government, or taking handouts from the government. I'm not kidding when I say 99.9%. In terms of budget and staff and reach. So what do you do if you're having trouble making ends meet, like the mainstream media, like newspapers? Well, you could think, what am I doing wrong? Why do people not read me anymore? Am I irritating people? Am I just passing on the party line? Am I part of the woke cancel culture? Am I just more leftism? You could think that, or you could say, you know what? To heck with it. We're all in with Trudeau. We need more money from Trudeau, and we will do whatever it takes. Because really, do you think your local newspaper is owned locally? The largest newspaper chain in Canada, which is called Post Media, which owns the Vancouver Province, Vancouver Sun, Calgary Herald, Edmonton Journal, Calgary Sun, Edmonton Sun, Saskatoon Star Phoenix, Regina Leader Post, National Post, Montreal Gazette, like need I continue. That's all one company. So you may think, oh, I'm reading the Regina Leader Post and it's really local. No, it's not. It's run out of Toronto. Do they even have 5 local reporters left? I'd be surprised. So you're getting one newspaper, one point of view. They have so few writers now. It's basically the same stories in every newspaper. And just in case you didn't realize how uniform they are, every single Post Media newspaper had the same front page today, and same with their competitors. And here's a snapshot. I've seen this digitally, but someone in Winnipeg sent me an actual snapshot of it. This is the front page of the Winnipeg Sun, but it's also the front page of every other Post Media newspaper. I'm going to read a little bit. Open letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Now it says Winnipeg Sun. I'm telling you this was not written in Winnipeg. Dear Prime Minister Trudeau, see, when I ask for help, I talk to our viewers, our readers, you. But that's because I rely on you and you give us life. Who does Post Media rely on and who gives them life? Well, let me show you. Dear Prime Minister Trudeau, the only reader we care about. The media outlets publishing this letter are competitors. We publish news in every region in Canada in both languages. We don't always see eye to eye. So an open letter to you and the prominence we're giving it in our publications is unprecedented. But then so is the threat to news media in Canada, and frankly, so shocking is the inaction of your government that it demands this unprecedented step. What are you talking about unprecedented step? You're just begging. You're grifting. Now listen, I respect a good hustle. We got to hustle here every day if we're going to pay the bills. We got to ask for help. We got to ask for people to chip. We got to hustle. Oh, I respect the hustle. This ain't hustling. This is grifting. This is, hey, Justin Trudeau, can you give us some money for free, and we'll tell you in private what we'll give you in return. Is it really unprecedented and shocking to have the entire corporate media speak in the same voice? That's sort of unshocking. That's sort of precedented. It's not unprecedented. In fact, it happens every day. Is there a subject of great importance that the corporate media aren't in lockstep on? I'll read some more. For months, you and the Minister of Canadian Heritage, Stephen Guilbeault, have promised action to rein in the predatory monopoly practices of Google and Facebook against Canadian news media. But so far, all we've gotten is talk, and with every passing week, the talk grows hollower and hollower. Who's writing this? Oh my God, what a terrible, breathless, does anyone believe this? But get this. This is what's so incredible. As you know, the two web giants, that is the exact language that Guilbeault uses. I wonder if Guilbeault wrote this. As you know, the two web giants are using their control of the internet and their highly sophisticated algorithms to divert 80% of all online advertising revenue in Canada, and they are distributing the work of professional journalists across the country without compensation. That's the most incredible paragraph you'll ever see. First of all, in case you miss me kvetch about it every day, I hate the web giants just as much as you do. In fact, I hate them more. I've explained to you as recently as 5 minutes ago why they've demonetized us. YouTube, which is owned by Google, cut us off for $400,000 a year. Just because they actually gave no reason for it. And Facebook censors us all the time. So I despise those two companies, and they don't give us any money. They just cut us off trying to kill us. But what a wicked lie. Look at this. They divert 80% of all online advertising revenue in Canada. Divert, you know what divert means? Like there's a river and you divert its flow. So like a beaver dam would divert the flow, or like you just change it. How is people wanting to advertise with Facebook or Google, how is that diverting it? Diverting is when you go in and force something to change. When people say, yeah, I don't want to advertise in the Montreal Gazette anymore, I'll go on Facebook. How's that diverting it? But even if you, let's not quibble over that one word, divert. It's just so funny. It's as if, we're great. I don't know why no one wants to advertise in our liberal rag anymore, but look at this. They are distributing the work of professional journalists across the country without compensation. No, they're not. You know how Google works, right? Have you ever used Google before? May I introduce you to how Google works? You type in a news story in Google, it gives you the headline and like 1 or 2 sentences, and that's all it gives you. Now, if you click on that link, guess what? You go to the Montreal Gazette, the Winnipeg Sun, the Calgary Herald, the Vancouver Province, whatever. Facebook and Google, it's the same on Facebook. If you publish a link on Facebook, it shows the headline in the first couple sentences. If you click on it, it takes you to the page. That's why newspapers, every newspaper, puts their stuff on Facebook on purpose. Because they want it to go viral. Why? Because that's what drives traffic back to your site. Can you believe this lobbyist? They are distributing the work of professional journalists across the country without compensation. Well, then cut them off. Then stop advertising on them. Then stop accepting traffic from Facebook. It's opposite day. What a weird lie. This isn't just a Canadian problem. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'll just skip ahead. Time and again, you and your government have committed to similar action. The Minister of Canadian Health has specifically and repeatedly committed to tabling legislation this spring, but after months of promises, there is still no legislation. And with the summer parliamentary recess approaching and the strong possibility of a fall general election, words alone will not sustain Canadian journalists through the long months of legislative inaction and relentless power plays by Google and Facebook. Who talks that way? Relentless power plays. You mean when they send traffic your way, that relentless power play? Who even talks that way? Just so weird. Let me just skip ahead to the end. The fate of news media in Canada depends on it. In no small way, so too does the fate of our democracy. Hey guys, did you know that if Justin Trudeau doesn't give another bailout of these dying legacy media, do you know where Post Media is owned? Do you know the answer to that? Do you know who owns Post Media? America, you're exactly right. There's the share, go to, type in Post Media market cap. So Post Media, unless it's being delisted, is actually traded on the stock exchange. And I think it's like a penny stock now. Because really it's owned not by the shareholders, not by the stockholders, but by the bondholders. Basically, people who have loaned money to Post Media because it needs much more money than it can raise in capital markets. Because is Post Media even still traded? I know that's it. Okay, can I see the market cap on screen? Okay, so the grand total market capitalization of the entire Post Media network is $187 million. Am I reading that right? So you might think, oh my God, you can buy all of those newspapers for $187 million? That's a little bit misleading because the main obligation is not to shareholders, it's to all the bondholders. Click on Wikipedia there for Post Media Network. And scroll down. I want to show who actually owns it. Yeah, there it is. Chatham. Post Media is currently 66% owned by an American media conglomerate, Chatham Asset Management. Can you click that footnote number 6 there? Leon, yeah, oh, okay, I'll read that, sure. Who's Chatham Asset Management? An American billionaire investor and hedge fund manager. He's the chairman and CEO of, okay, he owns 20% of it, blah, blah, blah. So do you see just to the left there, footnote number 6? Yeah, and then click on, and what is, okay, so this is their PDF of their financials. I'm not gonna take you through it. And it's a little bit outdated also. But yeah, I mean, I have read these financials. They make me feel like I'm Warren Buffett. I read these financials and I feel like I am the greatest businessman who's ever lived. I read these financials and I think, you lost how much? You're paying what interest rate? You've blown how much money on ideas that didn't work? Oh my God, I am like, I've got the Midas touch compared to these guys. If you've ever failed at something in life, and we all have, but if you've had a business idea and it just didn't work, read Post Media's financials. And you'll say, at least I'm not that guy. So when Post Media puts on the front page of all their newspapers, the fate of news media in Canada depends on it in no small way, so too does the fate of our democracy. Was that written by Chatham Asset Management in New Jersey? Was that written in New Jersey? The fate of Canadian democracy depends on you giving Chatham Asset Management free money. Yeah, I don't think it does, mate. The fate of the news media in Canada. No, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think maybe your awful chain of think-alike, talk-alike newspapers, but even that's not true. I mean, $600 million a year is a lot of bribery, let's be honest, and it does patch a lot of holes. But how about just fix your boat? How about just fix it? I am so deeply embarrassed. Imagine being a journalist. Imagine being a journalist. All right. I mean, a journalist for those companies. Wouldn't that be something? Couple chats. I'm going to go there. Let's take a look-see. On Rumble, Flame 2323, you cannot get out the message if the media is controlled. Yeah, that's why the internet, which was such a free place until, let's say, 5 years ago, is now so terrifying, because since we're all going through the internet, that's where we're censored. On Super U, Michelle, I think it might be 99.95% of media is controlled. Yeah, that could be. Hyperchat on Library from Cullen. For place guessing games, I recommend GeoGuessr and the free one, Virtual. Okay, that looks like spam, I think. I don't know. Shout out to Justin. For place virtual vacation, they give you different. Okay, so that's not spam. Got it. Okay, I thought that was spam for some website. That's not spam. That's someone saying if you want to play a place guessing game. Here's a fun. I take your point. So you're referring to the fact that Justin and I would while away many a night playing Can You Name the Countries, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again, because that's what you do when you're super cool, like us. It's very cool. Hyperchat, Tam C. Key and Bexy says vaccine passport with biometrics ready for Canadians. Well, I know that if you watched my show last night, I mentioned that Manitoba has already brought up the vaccine passport. They announced it yesterday. And the federal government is seeking similar technology. Super U, Fraser Bow, do what I do. When Ezra reads out a comment, I donate my $10 to Rebel News. Well, that's pretty friendly. Fraser, thank you. Joyful Art from the Heart. Does anyone know if the bylaw allows mask exemptions still? My church has announced nobody can enter without a mask and there are no exemptions. Well, believe it or not, you have a human rights complaint against your church. If you go to unmasked.ca, you should see the details for that. On Rumble, Nick Munkle, get the National Post just to read Rex Murphy and Barbara Kay. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. There are 3 reasons to read the National Post. Rex Murphy, Barbara Kay, and of course, Conrad Black. I don't know if they still run Terry Corcoran from time to time or Peter Foster. I'd put them in there too. But that's about it. And if you doubt me, if you think I'm exaggerating, I remind you that it wasn't long ago, like about a year ago, that the National Post had a town hall meeting, town square meeting, I think they called it, where the majority of National Post writers signed a petition, like some ultimatum manifesto, to get rid of Rex Murphy. Why, did Rex Murphy do something racist? No, the opposite. He said that Canada was not inherently racist. So for saying that Canada is not inherently racist, the majority of the newsroom in the National Post said he's got to go. Even though there's not a single black writer at the National Post, not one, at least not one that signed the letter. The majority of them were actually, as white as I am, none of them were willing to resign their own job to make way for someone else. And by the way, it's called racism when you judge people based on race or other irrelevant characteristics like that. So condemning Rex Murphy because he's a white man is really no better than condemning him because he's any other color. And by the way, there is an argument to say that people who come from Newfoundland, which historically has been the poorest province, have some sort of an uphill climb to make it in Canada, geographically, economically, things like that. I'm not saying that you're discriminated against minority if you're from Newfoundland. I'm just saying, actually, Rex Murphy has done a hell of a thing with his life, and nothing was granted to him on a silver platter. He didn't get anything by inheritance. He didn't get anything by handout. And all these wokesters in the newsroom, maybe they have downtown Toronto privilege. I don't know. All right. What? Let's just see. How much time do we have left? It's 12:55. You know, speaking of racism, Hunter Biden is crazy. That's the son of Joe Biden. And, you know, you've probably seen, maybe you haven't seen because, again, social media companies banned it, the Hunter Biden laptop that was recovered and all the pictures of him naked, pictures of him doing drugs, pictures of him with prostitutes, just crazy stuff. None of that seemed to offend the mainstream media. But now comes reports that he uses the N-word all the time. Hunter Biden repeatedly called his white lawyer the N-word, texts show. And here's examples of, like, you know, he's just, can you pump the size that up here? I'm not going to say the word, but he says, because N-word, you better not be charging me Hennessy rates. Hennessy, of course, a fancy liqueur. He just uses the N-word again and again and again. Oh my God, N-word. Did you just a fictional character from the imagination of the, like, what is he on drugs? Hey, I got a question for you. Now again, you might be saying, well, the salient point there is that those are private communications between him and his lawyer, and I'd agree with that. I'd say that private communications with a lawyer generally should be private. But let me ask you, if it was one of the Trump boys, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, if it was, I don't know, it's unthinkable to say Stephen Harper's son, Ben or something, that was using the N-word, do you think we would ever hear the end of it? And you'd say, well, why are you using the N-word? Is this something, like, how did you, like, you're young enough that you grew up in a society where that's not acceptable. Like, you know, if you were from a different era and you used language from a different era, all right, there's an explanation, even if you should get with it. But Hunter Biden is not like Robert Byrd. Hunter Biden's, what is he, 50 maybe, kind of thing? Like I think he's sort of my age, actually, maybe a little bit older. Why is he using the N-word so freely? Is it funny? Does he? I don't know. I would say a few things here. First of all, that this is in the New York Post, which was suppressed when it had their Hunter Biden story in the first place. During the election, their story was suppressed by Twitter and others, obviously to tilt the playing field for Biden. Second of all, they're running with it now, and I do acknowledge my discomfort with the fact that these are private messages being divulged, but that happens in politics all the time. So I'm not going to pretend I'm shocked, oh my God, someone leaked a private message. That happens all the time. So I jump to my third point, which is, if this were any Republican, if this were Ron DeSantis, if this were any other Republican, would you hear the end of it? If this were Rudy Giuliani, if this were any conservative who's in controversy, you would never hear the end of it. But I got to tell you, calling your white lawyer the N-word, like if we had to make a hierarchy of offensiveness, I don't think that's as grave as what the governor of Virginia has done, Ralph Northam, who literally dressed up in blackface, literally dressed up in a Klan outfit and posed for photos and published them. Or what Justin Trudeau did, dressing up in blackface so many times that when a reporter asked him, like, can you round it off to the nearest 5 or 10, he literally dressed up in blackface so many times he lost count. That just goes to show that if you're on the left, you can say racist things, you can do racist things, you can dress up in blackface. Like seriously, that outfit, like that attention to detail and to your black face and your neck and everything and your hands. He made his hands black. He did that he did that in three different decades of his life. He did that in his teens, he did that in his 20s, he did that in his 30s. I put it to you that he had a kit. Like, you know, if you have kids, you maybe have like a trunk that you put kids' costumes in for Halloween, and you know, every year you go back to the trunk. I don't know, at least in my house, he had like a little trunk. Just fun stuff for kids. It's for children. I don't have a Halloween costume, but I'm not Mr. Dress Up like Trudeau is. Trudeau had a kit, I'm certain of it, because he was, I mean, do you have the video of him? Yeah, here's another shot, but the video of him, you know the video of him when he was on that camping trip or whatever? Like, he was so attentive to detail in this camping trip. I think you see his exposed knee or something. And even his knee, he covered black. Like, this guy didn't just say, oh, how do you do this? I'm just going to make my face black and put on a hat and say goofy things. Like, look at that, his arms, his face. Is there a shot of his knee? Not in this particular clip, but I'm pretty sure like the attention to detail that he spent, that's his move. Okay, it's almost as if he would every year say, okay, do I have an opportunity now to go to my signature move, my blackface move, because it's burning a hole in my pocket. I got that thing in my tickle trunk and I'm ready to roll. Like, how would you even know how to start? Like, if someone said, okay, you're going to dress up in blackface, go, how would you start? Like, what do you use? Do you use shoe polish? Like, I don't have the answer. And how do you avoid, like in those pictures, you saw his hands on the people's clothing. Yeah, like his knee. Like I think he might have stripped down to his birthday suit and put that thing on his whole body from A to Z. Who does, his hands, his arms, his knees? Who does that? And in the other shot of him at that party when he was, I think, 30 or something, his hands were on other people. So what would dye your hand black but not mess up that outfit, or the other hand on the girl's chest? I think, if I'm recalling what the other picture was. Do we have the other picture of him groping the young lady in blackface? Yeah, like, so these are young women on a gala evening. They're looking their best. They're wearing their fancy dresses. They had their hair did. And here's Trudeau with his black face and black hands hugging them. Did that leave a smudge? I'm guessing it did not. So this guy has a serious gear. Like, I just simply wouldn't know how to make my entire skin black without leaving a mark on things I had touched. Like, he is an expert at blackface. An expert. He's done it so many times. Just one last Rumble chat. Share 21 shows the attitude he was raised with. Yeah, you're talking about Hunter Biden. You're right. All right, well, listen, pleasure to chat with you. We have 201 people on Super U. That's great. Thank you for being on Super U. On the YouTube censorship platform, which is definitely not my favorite, 828 viewers there. In addition, we have our friends on Rumble and Odyssey. I just can't find those view counts quickly, but let me just say I'm grateful to you for joining us. And I got a show tonight. I'm going to talk about the murders in London, Ontario, where a 20-year-old man named Nathaniel Veltman is alleged to have run into a family on the street, and the family murdering four of them, attempted murder on the fifth. These are the charges against him. And what's salient about it is that he allegedly targeted them because they're Muslim. Is this an act of terrorism? Is this a random mass killing event? Who is Veltman? Who is the family? What's been the political response? There's a lot to chew over, and I'll talk about that on my show tonight at 8 p.m. If you're not a subscriber, you can go to rebelnews.com and click subscribe. It's $8 a month for the paywall show. We call it Rebel News Plus. I do a show every day at 8 p.m. Sheila Gunn Reid, David Menzies do it once a week, and Andrew Chapados once a week as well. So tune in tonight. Do we have a dog video for today? We do. So let me say goodbye to you now and close with a dog video curated by our friend Justin.